Hello, welcome back. Nigel with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench, and here we are now with part 4A or whatever I'm going to call it. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, but it's basically part 4 in the instructions, as you can see here, and it's assembling this frame. Now, if you remember, we did this already in the last video, or the one before that, and then we discovered we didn't like the look of the HT leads and things got scratched and it was very awkward. This is very, very straightforward. When you come to this area here, getting these in can be, getting this one and this one can be a little awkward getting them in. This one's not so bad, but this one is a nightmare getting it to go in. If I was building one of these again, I would leave the right hand exhaust pipe off until I've done this, and then you'll be able to slide the exhaust pipe in then. Reason being is this tube here that runs diagonally from the center out to the rear right corner, rear right corner, has to go through here. It has to go, you can see in here there is a slot, and it has to go into there through there, and it's sort of up against the exhaust and everything. So as I say, if I hadn't glued it in, I could take the exhaust off. It would make life a lot easier. So what I've done, I've tried to come up with a way of actually doing both of these well, it's not 2 stages, it's 1 stage on 2 pages. But a way of coming up with getting this to go together without damaging anything. So we've got all the parts here. Now here's the, where is it? Where's the part we're talking about? Here it is. This is the part I was talking about, and this is the one that's got to go down through here. Okay, I'm just going to check the instructions. It does go, yes, it does go with this at the back. So that's basically got to go down through there and sit in there like that. And it's quite, well, that's weird. It's just sliding through now. When I did it first of all, it was very awkward to get through. I don't know what's going on there. Right, so that's going to sit there like that. Now what I'm going to do is, hold on a second, this might be where it's awkward getting it out. Right, so what I'm going to do is take a piece of paper, and I'm going to slide a piece of paper in underneath this air duct. This is the cooling duct for the transmission. So slide that piece of paper in there and push that wooden rod in. So as you can see now, the paper has gone up into that recess in there, and we can put this in here without getting anything scratched. So that is going to go into there like that. As you can see, it's become tight now. That's probably because of the paper, but at least nothing now will get scratched. I'm going to put another piece of paper over here. As you can see, it's been rubbing up on there, so I'm going to put another piece of paper there. Alright, so that should help that. Now let's get this out of the way. Where's my scissors? Let's grab a little pair of scissors a minute and just cut this paper out of the way here. Oh, come on. Right, how to cut paper on Nigel's Modelling Bench. Okay, so that's just sat in there now. Now, the problem we have with putting all this together, I should have pre-prepared with all these chassis members. I'm sorry I didn't. Now, what they're asking you to do is these are all been repainted now. I got rid of the ejector pin marks and everything in there, and I've repainted them with Mr. Surfacer Black. The problem is you've got these raised lugs on here, as you can see. You can't because it's black. There's a raised lug there, you can see it, and that sits up in underneath here. And the problem is you can't actually fit all this unless the engine's in place, but you can't pull the chassis apart unless that's in place, because that's in there. What you could do is not glue these in, screw them to the engine and glue them in after. What I'm going to try and do is assemble this, okay, onto the side of the engine. So that's going in there, and then this one's going to come up into this hole at the rear here, which you probably can't see what I'm doing. I'll show you in a minute, and then we can screw that up underneath and into the engine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this off camera because it's pointless, you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm going to attempt to assemble all of this. And what I'm hoping to be able to do is get in afterwards with the super glue. I think I'll probably put some super glue in that hole there, because I won't be able to get to that neatly. hopefully I can get in there with the black super glue, let it capillary in, and then wipe off the excess with a cotton bud. And it shouldn't show up on the black paint. If it does, we can just touch it in. But basically that pin there is going in that hole there. Okay, so that hole there is that pin. And then that pin there is going into that rear hole there. And then we've got another piece here. Again, not prepared. This piece here is going to go in to there like that. Okay, so what we could actually do is glue that in first, but then the glue takes a while to dry. So what I think I'll do is grab an F screw from the box. Okay, grab a screwdriver, grab one F screw. Okay, and get that on there ready. Alright, and then we can have a go at putting this together. I think what I might do is put some glue into that hole. There. Like so. And the beauty of this is the VMS Flexi 5K black thin I'm using. You can get it from here, from Brooks Models. And it's wonderful super glue. Its downside is it doesn't dry straight away. The upside to it is it doesn't dry straight away. Now what I can do here is lift this up. In fact, if I just grab this cardboard block and put the engine, in fact I need the bigger one, don't I? Hang on a second. Okay, so if I've got the engine up now, lifted up. So I'm going to slide that into there. It's easier said than done, this. I'll slide this into here. Now I've done this once off camera and it worked quite well, but having said that, it was before I painted everything, so I wasn't worried about anything getting scratched or marked, but now I want to make sure everything stays perfectly aligned. There we go. So that's gone in there. That noise you can hear is dotty. So there we go. So that's gone in like that. That's gone into that hole there, and that one stayed in that hole there. Okay, so now we can do the same on this side again. Try and get yourself in the habit, guys. Get yourself prepared with your screws. This is going to be awkward. So what I want to do now is get some glue into here. And that noise you can hear now, the clattering, is Dotty biting the bottom of my chair. There's like a plastic shroud that goes around the hydraulic cylinder that lifts the chair. She's chewing on that. Bless her. I think we'll put some glue in this hole as well. Does it go into that hole? I'm sure it does. Yeah. Got a feeling in the instructions it points to a different hole. Points to one of these two, but that's incorrect. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to come down to here, slide this over, get that one into that hole there. I'm sorry guys, this is so difficult to do on camera, and then I want to get this to go up into that engine mount. As you can see, it's extremely awkward. Oh, come here. And I want to get this to go in between as well. I'm not going to glue that at the moment. This is so awkward. But I think it's the best way to get it to go together without... Come on! You see, I'm trying to get it to go up into that bloody gearbox mount and get these 4 pins in at the same time. It's just so awkward. There we go, we're there. Now this one needs to go in, and as you can see I can't fit it without scratching everything, so that's got to come out of that gearbox mount again. Oh dear, dear, dear. I really wish they'd made this rear cross member piece, this X piece, as two separate parts. I can't see what I'm doing here. Everything's bloody black. Oh, Jesus. Sorry I'll get accused of being blasphemous saying that. We go. Now again, this won't see. I've got the gearbox mount in. Now that won't go in. Oh, come on. I'm just going to have to scratch it, I think. There we go. So that's gone in. So we'll grab that screw, put that in loosely, just tighten it down and undo it again. Right, so all of that has gone together now. Alright, so I think that's the best way to get this piece here, this rear crossmember. What's the part number of that? It's DC3. No, it's not. It's DC18. It's an absolute nightmare to get it in. If you go back and look at the video previous to the last one, you'll see how much I was struggling. I'm just going to knit this down. And then just give it a little untweak like that. Right. So that is my recommended method. I'm leaving that loose because we've got coils to go on there. But that is my recommended method. And it's purely to make it easier to get this in, otherwise you're fighting with it. You've got to get that to go down through there while this is all going down over these pipes and everything. So, and I know I've got these trumpets on here, which shouldn't be on here yet. I don't think they're making any difference. So now we need to go back to here, back to this part of the instructions, and look at getting the rest of the frame together. So what we could do now is actually fit the front. Now we know that those two tubes, so there's no indication of it, but here we know that those two tubes need to go. Oh, I need to take it off again. I need to take it off again because those two tubes have to go through. These have to go through there, so I need to take it off again. Oh, God. Right, back in a minute. Okay, so we got there in the end after lots of swearing. I've also told Dottie off because that noise on the bottom of that chair was absolutely doing my head in. Right, so we've now got those tubes going through there. Of course, if I had the original vinyl tubes, I probably could have removed them and put them in, because I've got these braided hoses, I couldn't bend them enough. So they're through there now. Right, so what I want to do now is fit this front part of the engine bay. So we've got this bracket here. Okay, so we're going to get this. I'm working on 2 pages here, it's annoying. So this bracket here is going to go onto the front of the engine like that, and it fits beautifully onto there. All right. Then we are going to fit this. Make sure we get the right way around. The right way around, you've got holes here, 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 here. They should face backwards. So this is designed to be super glued on. And we've got screws going in here, 2 screws. So what I'm tempted to do here is just pop this on, see how it looks. Like so. Again, there's no indication where those tubes go, they have to go underneath. So the tubes have to come out through here. Alright. And we've got 2 tubes up the top going into 2 holes, and we've got these here. This is so bloody awkward. But you know, this is a lot less fuss. I must go back and watch the Pocher video, actually, see how he got around putting that diagonal in, because it's a bloody nightmare. Right. This is very awkward. I think what we're going to have to do, we'll get a couple of F screws. We'll get an F screw on the screwdriver. Get that ready. And then what I can do is pop that into that hole there. Pop those two tubes through there. I think it might be easier actually to put an A screw in. I've actually, if you remember, these screws, these A screws were too long. You couldn't get them to go right down. So what I've done is actually drilled these out. I think it was I used a 1mm drill, and then just tapped them deeper so that the screws will actually go in. So they do actually go all the way in now. So get those two pipes through there. We'll get that engaged in that hole. I'm sure this is really not interesting to watch, guys. I'm sorry, because you probably can't see anything. Oh, stay on the end of the bloody screwdriver. Ah. Swine. This is really somebody else with you to put the screw in for you. There we go. We'll just put that in there a couple of turns just to keep it in place, and then we'll slide it across and up or whatever. In fact, I think we'll get an A screw in this side as well. Get an A screw into there as well, I think. Get that engaged. Come on, where are you? Because it's all black, I can't see anything. Nope, that's completely missed. That's why it wasn't engaging, because I was completely out of position. Right, so we've got that in there. Those two at the top there, they're going in those holes. That's great. So now we should be able to get this aligned on here. There we go. And put an F screw in there. Again, I'm not tightening any of this right up, guys, because I want to be able to move it to get the joints glued. Okay, so that's gone in there, that's gone in. So that's all held together. So we can slacken those off in a minute. We'll be able to put it right back and get these bars in at the top, like so. Alright, and then in fact I'm not going to glue those until we fit this top piece. And then what we need to do is fit the bottom. Now I'm going to turn this over and hopefully it will sit. Yes, it does. It sits on the frame. So now I can fit this lower chassis part. So this is the front end. This is obviously the bottom because these go up the sides. So this is going to go down like that. And these holes, these little holes here, are going to line up with these pegs on the chassis. Now what I'm going to do here, because this is like a die-cast metal, it has a certain amount of flexibility, I'm just going to bend that up a touch, just to increase the pressure to make it sit easier in those holes, because it doesn't want to sit. So now when I put this down, I should be able to pull those together. Yeah, so it's all staying together now. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is put a drop of the black super glue on here and a drop on there to hold that all together. Now what screws do we have in the bottom here? We have E screws. So we'll grab a couple of E screws. I only want 2, thank you, I don't want 76. Right, so that's going to go onto there, over the top, and then those little holes are going to line up with those little pins on there. And then we can take one E screw and screw that into there. Get it aligned. Again, it kind of, they've got like a, oh bloody hell, they've got like a rough location on them. You can kind of feel them pop in. I can tighten this one right up because we don't need any movement down here. So that can go into there. Let's pull that down nice and tight. Let's pull that down nice and tight. Right, so that's all good news. You can see these here have lined up beautifully. And what we've got to do here is put these pieces in. Now, these pieces go in a certain way. They have to stick backwards like that. So that's going to go into there. All right, and then we've got F screws again. So we need 2 F screws, not 300, just 2. So we can put a screw into there. Just leave that loose for now. And we'll do the same over there. That was not my bottom, that was the chair squeaking. As you can see, these are fitted so that they sort of angle back, if you like. At the end of the day, if you get it wrong, it doesn't matter because you can just take them off again when it comes. But they're basically going to support the rear fenders. I'm kind of tempted to leave them off because they are extremely vulnerable and could easily get snapped. You know, if you put this down like that heavily or something, because they don't get used for a long, long time. I'm going to leave them off, and we'll fit them when we actually fit the rear mudguards, wheel wells, wheel arches, whatever you want to call them. So we'll fit that like that now without these brackets on, because they are, I'll show you why I'm doing it, because as you can see this here is quite thin and that would easily be snapped off if you overloaded them, and they're extremely vulnerable sitting there like that. So I'm going to leave them off for now, put them to one side. Right, so that is basically our frame all together, and as you can see, what moved then? Something went dunk. Wonder what that was. But basically, as you can see now, we've got it all together. You can see all those plug leads through the sides. What we need to do now is get this all glued up. But I think what we'll do is leave that until there's an upper frame going on here. It's going to sort of put everything together. So I think what I'll do is leave these here unglued. These here are glued together beautifully. What I am going to do is put a drop of, get myself prepared with a cotton bud. I'm going to put a drop of the black super glue into here. Let that capillary in for a second, and then wipe off the excess. Just like so. And that not only helps to glue it, it helps to seal it. And as you can see straight away there, the way I was holding that, I was likely to snap those off, those other brackets. So there we go. So they can be glued in because there's no movement going to be going on around them. And there we go. Now bear in mind guys, I have painted these frames only because there were ejector pin marks in there that I wanted to get rid of. Now I can see now the ones down in there aren't even visible. There's a couple under there which aren't even visible. So it was a pretty pointless exercise really. What we can do now is grab some tweezers and take this paper out, which is going to be easier said than done because these tweezers don't grip anything. Come on, it'd be a laugh if I can't get that out, wouldn't it? Let's grab a pair of pliers so that I can get a decent purchase on it. Right, so that's all gone together now, nothing's scratched, nothing's marked, and we're all hunky-dory. Okay, so that is my suggestion on how to put this frame together. Now we may have to put some super glue removal in because this may have to be pulled together when it comes to putting the top frame on. We shall see. Now that end there is not glued. Okay, so I am going to put some in there. I'm going to put a big drop in there, let it go in. I'm going to put some more on here. Think about it, the designers, you know, they had a nightmare with this. I just wish they'd made this as two separate pieces and had it joined in the middle. It would have made life a lot easier. We just mop up the excess there. And there we go. That's all gone together beautifully. As you can see, this one here is loose because I don't know its position. So if you glue it, and you glue it like that, and then it needs to be back here, you're going to be knackered. I'm not going to put any more glue on here, on these joints here, because I'm not sure exactly where they're going to finish up. Okay, but we've got an upper frame to go on, so we'll get that out in a minute and get that trialled on, see how it fits. Hopefully it won't be covered in ejector pin marks, so I don't need to repaint it. Back in a sec. Okay, next day. Lots has happened. After I'd filmed the last little segment, I thought I'd try the upper brace on, and again, these holes in the end aren't deep enough. So I drilled them out and tapped them, and then got a tap stuck in the hole and snapped it off. So yeah, believe it or not, what I did was actually split the metal open, cut it with a saw, split it open, got the tap out, and then closed it back up, filled it with super glue and retapped it. Yeah, what a nightmare. Be very, very careful with your M1.5 taps because they're so fragile. I was rushing is what it was. Everything was going wrong yesterday, so I was rushing. I've also got this bracket that goes on the top. We can see here in the instructions, you've got this piece here, that's the main frame, and then you've got this bracket here going down onto the top. Basically, that is silver in colour, but we've got these brackets on the ends, which are actually brackets from the main frame. So what I've done is masked them off and painted them black. So as you can see here, we can unmask this now. Here we go. That's going to be fun, isn't it? I'll do it off camera. But basically, that's been masked up so that we get these metal brackets on the ends, as you can see there. Okay, so that's going to look a lot better than just having a big lump of silver metal in there. So we'll get that unmasked in a minute. Going back, we've got these coils. Now, I found an error in the Pocher kit. It's not massive, it doesn't really matter, but looking at photos, the actual distributor caps on the Porsche 917 have two coil leads. I'd love to see the rotor arm out of one of these, but it has two coil leads next to each other. So they have two coils for the front, two coils for the back. Here are the two coils for the back, H17. And they give us those two coils, and they give us this piece of vinyl piping to go in. Now on the end of this, we've got that sort of like a little hammerhead shark end on it. So I don't quite know what you're supposed to do with that, bearing in mind there's like a pip on there originally. I've drilled a hole in it, if you remember. So I'm not going to use these. I'm going to replace them with wire. Again, this is wire from the telephone cable, 0.9 in diameter. So we'll get these coils out. Sorry about the chair, my chair is becoming extremely worn out. So we've got these coils and they're beautifully painted. They're very, very nice indeed. There is a mould seam around them, so I'm tempted to sort of clean them up and fit them. In fact, what I'll do is I won't do this now. What I'm going to do is remove that mould seam, repaint them and everything, check all the colours. I think the cap on the top would have been silver, and certainly this big lump on the end would be black. And I'm going to drill them out. Okay, so I've got a 1mm drill. I'm just going to drill that out so that I can get my wire to go in. like so. Okay, we'll drill the other one as well. And then, as I say, I don't like seeing seam lines, particularly on round parts. So I want to get rid of those. So all I'll do there is come along with a sanding stick and just literally sand away until that seam line is gone. Okay, so it looks like it's black plastic. I think everything is black plastic, and then it's primed and painted. It's beautifully painted. It's really nicely done, but you know, if they started removing seam lines and stuff, I think it's quite a seam line. It's going to need a scrape, so I'll give it a scrape first. As you can see, it's easy to remove once we scrape it. That's it, that's better. So we can just scrape that, just clean it up, get into all the corners, and then on the end here we have a little pip. That's from the sprue gate, so we can remove that. Again, as I've said on many occasions, you don't have to do this. I'm just doing it because I'm fussy. There we go. That's that taken care of. And we can just get a sanding sponge and just polish it. There we go, and they're ready to go on now. Well, ready for painting, priming and painting. That one in the middle there is quite stubborn. For some reason the seam line on the silver bit is worse than the seam line on the rest, which seems crazy, but hey ho, it is what it is. And there we are. Right. There we go. So I'll carry on with that. I'll get them primed and painted up. I'll probably fit them between the next, now and the next video. So, just thinking I should be able to get those on. Yeah, we'll get those on afterwards, easy. Okay, so going over the page, we have our... In fact, looking at this, I think I need to get them on now, actually, because it's going to be very difficult to plumb them and everything. So I'm going to deal with those now, and then I'll come back. Okay, we're back. So the coils are painted. As you can see, all the seams are gone. We painted them blue. It's just a mix of X14, is it? Yeah, X14 and a bit of white. So that's that done. And then the same here, that one's all done. We've got the silver band masked off and sprayed in the middle. So we've got rid of those seam lines. So they look a lot better. Right, so as I say, we've got 2 coil leads going to each distributor. So what we need to do is somehow get 2 wires into one hole, because the distributors, sorry, not the distributors, they should have 2 holes in them, but they don't. They just have one hole in the center, just as any normal standard distributor would have. So I'm going to strip those wires back like that, and then what I'm going to do is twist these together. Okay, this is 0.9 wire. It's just, I think it's about 0.9 diameter. It's basically the same as the red stuff. It's telephone wire. So we get, oops, that's snapped off like that. Okay, so we'll cut that off again. I'll do this off camera, and then I'll come back when it's done. I've done one already, and I thought I'll cut it off and I'll show you how I do it. And I wish I hadn't now. But basically, what we're going to do is just take that sheathing off of there. It's probably what happened is I probably cut the wire when I cut the sheathing. There you go. Let's try again. I'll do it on camera. If it snaps again, I'll do it off camera. Basically, what I'm going to do here is just twist these together like so, just like that. Right, and then we'll get the pliers on the end, and we'll give it a nice tight twist to get a nice tight, there we go. And then we can cut the end off. And now I've drilled out the holes in the distributor 1mm in both of them, because I'm going to make cables for the front one as well, and then it'll stick in there. That's absolutely great. So now we have that like that. We can pull these wires kind of straight, pull them out and cut them off. Okay, so now we've got 2 leads to go back to the coils. Now these leads have wrapping around them, so again we're going to use the heat shrink on them. So this is basically going to sit something like that. So this, tip that up so I can see what I'm doing. This wire is going to go into there. Go on. There we go, that's gone into there. So we need to cut a little bit more off of there because the hole's not deep enough. Alright, so that's going to go into there. And then these 2 wires are going to come back and they're going to split off. So we need to check the routing, but basically they've got a couple of ties on them to strap them together. So what I'm going to do is, once again, just like we did with the coil wires, with the plug leads, I've got some heat shrink here that I've already cut off. So we'll put a couple of those on, we'll shrink them down, and we'll go from there. Let's get all this into the bin. Back in a minute. Okay, so there you can see, basically you can see the setup. Got the heat shrink on there, the pipes are the cables are going back. We've got it in the top of the distributor cap. So what I want to do now is just tack these cables in. Actually, I want to straighten that one up, don't I? That one there. That one there, I want it coming out of the coil more straight than that. There we go. So I'm just going to put some super glue on here. Something I wish Pocher had done. They've made these coils so they're not handed. So this one, as you can see, the one on the left, it's got the slot in it. I don't know why they've slotted it. They could have just put a hole in the end, but they got a slot in it. So there you can see that slot is open and facing up. Rather than hand them, and have one with the slot up and one with the slot, rather than hand them and have them both hand slots down, they've made them both the same, which wasn't necessary because they're made on one sprue. They could have made 2 different ones, but I just want to glue those into there like so. Get plenty of glue on there so it forms like what looks like a cap. And then I'm just going to leave that to dry off. And there we go. I think I also want to just make that cable a bit straighter on that one as well. There we go. That's better. You just leave that to dry. Just like that. And then we'll come back in a minute. Okay, once again, next day now, and we've got the coils sanded down, painted, masked, got the red on the ends, the orangey red. That's just a 50-50 mixture of red and orange. And then we've got the cables there glued in. So that's all good. So now we need to get these glued on here. So I'm going to need a couple of pegs. I'm going to get a couple of reverse pegs because they're nice and slim. So these are basically normal clothes pegs. And if you freeze frame that, you can see how they're made. It's basically you just swap them over. Okay, so the beauty of these is that it gives you a much tighter clamping force, but also you've got a wide flat end which is slender and fits into gaps. So basically we need to get some of our VMS Flexi 5K CA. Get some of that into here, just like so, onto our Pringles lid. Just for that one. And then, where's our applicator? Where is it? Here it is. It's right next to the pot. I'm looking for it over there. So I'm going to put some super glue in these holes. Okay, we don't need too much. But we want to make sure they don't come off, because the wires do have a sort of springing tendency. It's actually Friday morning now, so we're 36 hours before the video goes out, so getting close to having to get all this edited and done. So I'll feed that wire through there, okay, and then concentrate on getting these coils connected. So that one's going to go on there like that. We'll get a peg on there, hold that in place. And then that one's going to go onto there like that. We'll get a peg on there and hold that in place, and we'll leave that to dry for a while, and then eventually that's about where the where it's going to end up, and then this cable will go into that hole there in the distributor there, like so. But I think what I'll do is get all this frame connected and everything first, so we've got a final position, and then I can get these wires bent how I want them to sit and everything, so they look like they've got some weight in them. So that's that. We're going to let that dry, and then I'll come back. Alright, so that's all fitted now, and all we've got clamps on the back here. These are Rebel Hobby clamps from Sweden, so that you don't have to ask, because I always get asked where they are and where they're from and blah blah blah. Right, so now we've got this frame on the top, DC17. This is the one that I painted the brackets black. So this is basically going to go on. Let's move this forward to get the weight off that clamp. This is basically going to fit onto there. We've got a hole in the frame here. There's a hole there, and then there's a hole there. And as we can see, it's got a bit of a twist in it. So we're going to have to try and get that twist out. So it's going in there. In there. Yeah, it's got a twist in it, which is unfortunate, because I'm probably going to have to use pliers, which means I'm going to scratch the paint. But as I put it down and sit it evenly on there, as you can see, that end is on an angle. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to twist it, and then hopefully it won't break, and then paint it again. So that's going to have to be just tweaked. So I'll put that in there, that in there. This is why you test fit everything first, guys. But it looks like we got it there, and it's not actually scratched the paint, so that's cool. And it looks like it doesn't want to go in the hole. There we go, it's gone in now. And then that one is going to go into there like that. Right. So there we go. So that's all good. Okay, so we will get some of our VMS black thin. We'll put that around there. And we'll put some more on here. Gonna have to get some more out of the bottle. Just like so. Put some on here. And then I'm going to put some in that hole. Just like so. Just remove the excess. So I'm going to put that pin in there first. I'm going to put that one in there second. And then pop that one in there. There we go. So that's that fitted. So that engine is never coming out again. Okay. And the inlet manifold's going to actually sit around these tubes. That's why these tubes are aluminium and they're bolted in, so they could lift the engine out. Right, sorry I hit the camera then. So that's that in. Now the other thing we need to do is these diagonals across the back. Remember I left these off earlier. I've got them here, so that's this side. So what we need to do is I'm going to tip the engine over on its front like so. Then we'll take our screwdriver and remove this screw from here. And I'm going to take the one out of the other side as well. Clamps are holding it all together, which is cool. So I want to get this screw to come out. Come on, there we go. So put that one there. Put that one there. And then this is basically going to fit into there like that. Right, so that's got a slot in between, in the gap, and then that's going to go in those holes there. Okay, so that's going to obviously need to be pegged as well. So what I'm going to do is leave that in place in that hole there like that. I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to put some glue in these holes. Here goes Dotty, chewing the chair. You can see that hole there is elongated. God, this weighs a ton, this thing. There we go. So that's gone like that. We can get those two in there. And then I should be able to clamp that in together like that. Now I'm going to use the rubber clamps because they should stay on there better, he says. Oh, wow. Easier said than done, this. Nope. I'm going to have to hold it, I think, and put some accelerator on there. So I can't see a bloody thing because it's all black. Just wipe away the excess, like so. And then I'll grab the accelerator. Drop on there like that, drop on there like that. And that should do us. There we go. And then I'm going to turn it around, do the same on the other side, and then let it all dry. Okay, so we got there in the end, all glued up. The person that or the team or whatever that worked on the actual screw sizes for this model needs to have a little rethink before they do the next one. I mean, these screws in here were way too long at 5mm. These here at 4mm were fine. Down here, screw F is a 2.3 by 4mm, which gives you about a millimetre thread engagement. So I went to my Lamborghini spare screws, and there's a C screw in the Lamborghini which is 2.3 by 5. So I've used them in there. To hold all that together. So, because as you can see, when it's all sandwiched, you've got quite a, you know, this piece here is giving you quite a gap, and the 2.3 by 4 just isn't long enough. So that's all cool. That cross member there is in. I've glued the pipe in there, the lead, the HT leads for the coils, so they're in. So I hope you agree that gives a nice little improvement in looks to the coils with the ends done and everything. And also, you know, it's nice to know for you guys that you can actually do this and it will go together. Now the edge of the paint has been slightly worn off there, so I may just go with a brush and just touch that in. I'm also thinking I might sort of see if I can mask this up and respray this area back here because we've got some glue marks on it, but we'll see how it looks. We may get away with it. So there we are. So that's everything done up to and include, as are the spare screws in the Lamborghini. You can see there's lots of them. So that's everything done up to and including step 4. So now we have two options. We can either carry on with the instructions in step 5 and work on the interior and get that all up together and start to work on the monocoque, or we can jump forward here to step 15 and do this engine intake bit, so we have a completed engine ready to go. So I think we'll have a think about that and see where we go next, but we'll probably actually stay with the instruction because it makes the the videos part 5, part 4, part 4, part 4A and everything. It makes all that a lot easier to follow, doesn't it, for you? So we'll probably just stay with the instructions. So next week we'll make a start on all this interior and the steering and everything. Looks like we've got a proper steering rack, a geared rack here rather than the Lamborghini type lever. We have some tapping to do by the look of it, and we've got some decals to do on the instrument panel. So we'll go from there. So I will see you next week. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed that. Little bit of extra work done on here and there and everything. I don't know where all that's come from, but we've got bits and pieces of stuff on the exhaust. So I don't know quite where that's come from. It's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. Never mind. We won't be looking underneath this model because we won't be able to turn it over because it's too big and heavy. But it's nice to have it all done while it's being built, so it all looks nice for you guys while we're putting it together. So there we are. And there she is from behind. I think it's a lovely look with these metal exhausts. I think it looks bloody lovely. Really, really nice. Very nice model indeed. I must be honest, I prefer this to the Lamborghini. Vastly prefer it. Having said that though, I think I probably prefer the actual subject as well. Are these screws going to go in anymore, or are they just stripping their threads? Because they're screwing into plastic there. That bracket's loose, so it's obviously not pulling it together. But did I actually tighten these? No, I didn't. See, you can forget to do these things. So at least the engine's held firmly in place now. It's not going to go flying out. Right, so there we are. Okay, hopefully you'll follow my tips on getting this chassis together. I think it's a lot easier than doing it the instructed way. It's just purely for getting this cross brace here in, that piece there underneath. Makes it a lot easier. But now we've learned you can actually assemble these complete with the trumpets, sand and fill, and de-seam everything. Makes it all look a lot nicer. And I think it's well worth the effort doing the HT leads. And yeah, I think it looks so much better. Although apparently I'm told by the end of it you can't see the engine anyway. So we shall see. Thank you for watching again, and I will see you all next week for part 5. Bye for now.